Mobile gaming surpasses PC esports in reach and often outperforms popular esports brands on YouTube. Patrick Carney of Tribe Gaming and James Young of Tencent's PUBG join TEO's Trent Murray to explore the future of mobile gaming and its impact on esports.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We're really excited to be able to talk about mobile again. Pat, I want to come to you first. Last year, you and I were both on the panel at Esports Rising in California, and we talked about how mobile gaming as a whole has really already globally overtaken other aspects of gaming as a leader in the space in revenue and popularity and downloads, these sorts of things, and that mobile esports in Asian countries and other parts of the world is really already starting to compete with traditional esports for watch time, for downloads, for activity, and that's just going to come to the US. It's only a matter of time. So now we're here a year later. And I wonder if you could just kick us off by going through kind of what's happened in the last year in mobile and in mobile esports. Where have things developed since we last spoke?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I feel like now's a great time to do an update of the mobile landscape. And, I'll keep this short, but tons of stuff has been going on. I think one of the most exciting things that we've been seeing more broadly in mobile gaming is definitely the emergence of these AAA type IPs heading over to mobile, creating mobile games and finding an amazing amount of success. Obviously, James knows this with PUBG Mobile. We've been able to see this with Call of Duty Mobile, which I know was released just around the time that we ended up holding this event last year. And fast forward till today, Call of Duty has been one of the fastest growing games. Obviously has a dominating YouTube presence, which we take advantage of here at Tribe. For reference, one of our content creators, Ferg, actually does over 50% of the viewership that Ninja does on something like a YouTube. His scale is absolutely massive. And really these AAA games hitting mobile and these major IPs hitting mobile is opening up mobile to a newer audience who maybe traditionally hasn't engaged in mobile games. Maybe they've thought that mobile is only for match 3 type games or whatever else, or, cookie clicker type games. This audience now realizes that, hey, my favorite IP is on mobile. Let me check this out. And they're realizing that it's high fidelity type games. So that's been really exciting for me to see. Obviously, a founder and CEO of Tribe, we've been able to expand across these divisions. I think one game everyone's looking forward to later this year, early next year, depending on where you're based, obviously is Wild Rift. I think the mobile MOBA question in the West has been one lingering for a while. We actually got our start at Tribe Gaming around a game called Vainglory, still one of my favorite games of all time. And seeing what Riot can do by bringing their IP to mobile and seeing the success they can have in the West is something that, we have a very keen eye on going forward in the future. But yeah, I mean, since last time on the competitive front, I believe right now in the Western world, we have 5 $1 million esports leagues, that we're participating in, specifically around mobile esports. On the content front, I keep reiterating to people that content is the biggest opportunity in mobile right now. I'm a little biased because my background's as a mobile gaming content creator, but seeing now that on YouTube, at least 4 of the 10 biggest games on YouTube are mobile games. You've got creators pulling in tens of millions of views per month. Even Tribe as a collective, we pull in around 100 million views per month on YouTube, which is more than, most every single traditional tier 1 organization in the Western world. Content for sure, I think going forward into 2021 is going to be one of the biggest conversations for mobile and how teams and publishers are leveraging that for their brands.
Absolutely. And I definitely want to dig into the relationship content and YouTube has with the mobile space a little bit later. And I think you touched on something that's really important to say up front for anyone that wasn't at our panel last year, is that when we talk about mobile gaming, I think a lot of people still think of very casual, very simple games, but really the industry has evolved to the place where you're able to get high-level competitive gaming experiences on mobile, and that's been one of the most important things that's been driving the mobile esports space, which very naturally brings us to you, James, and obviously PUBG Mobile, particularly in Asia and India, in China, is really driving the mobile esports momentum forward. And this year, the entire esports industry felt the weight of the COVID-19 pandemic, the loss of live events. And I know at the beginning of the year, we covered a lot of the high level expansive plans that PUBG Mobile had for a big rollout of global esports that obviously COVID-19 threw a wrench into, and you guys did a lot of creative problem solving to adjust to the pandemic. So I wondered if you could just talk us through, from the organizer and developer side, what it was like having those plans and then having to adjust things to be able to continue having those competitions, but to do it in a safe way as a result of the pandemic.
Oh, that's a lot of great questions all combined. So let me talk just one by one. So that firstly about the mobile esports and esports. And the interesting thing is people don't call it as a PC esports or even console esports. They just say esports, and esports is all for PC esports. And now putting mobile in front of it, like mail and email. For me, I think eventually this mobile esports, the upfront to this mobile, this word will gone. Yeah. Why? Because there's not much difference really in the sportsman perspective or esports perspective. Still device different, that's mobile, PC, or whatever. But the spirit, esports sportsmanship, or their passion, their competition, this is all similar. So I always bring the example like table tennis and tennis. Or the rackets are different, smaller, bigger, but you don't call it as a minor sport or smaller sport. All both are great sports. So same way, I think eventually mobile esports, even we don't need to call this as a mobile esports. It will be just esports, but all different games or titles. Absolutely. But anyway, when you personally started mobile esports with the PUBG Mobile launching 2018, just said many people, so many people, especially in the Western region, people in the industry, they really didn't believe mobile esports will go up like this. Because simply for them, mobile device is just for killing time. It's not device for playing game. And I can totally understand why. At home, in Western, US, there are great console devices which is just pretty developed to playing game. So that you have limited time. And if you want to play the hardcore kind of game, even on mobile, you need to spend 30 minutes over in an hour to play. Then you want to play this game in a smaller kind of screen with your kind of big thumb to play, and you cannot control, you cannot even see the screen, or you want to see the big wide screen with this much stronger performance gaming devices. Definitely, you want to select that device with play together in the living room. So because there's already tradition, so that maybe it's not easy to change the perception, like whether this device is really for gaming. But in Asia market, especially China or Korea, mobile device still at the beginning, it was not regarded as a gaming device, but clearly it was regarded as a network device. It's always online. And if you remember clearly that the console gaming at the beginning, it was not online. It was all offline with a single game basis. Yeah. But in Korea, 1990, late 90 or early 2000, all PC games, all online, MMORPG or casual game, they was all online. So for us, for Asian people, mobile device is a network device to play game together with others. So then it was much easier for us to get used to some playing with the others, comparing the games like MMORPG. So that if you see the current gaming ranking, most of the games are actually from PC games and previous rankings, so that the perception on device was different. So that I think it will be easier for Eastern countries to get this mobile esports because competition already existing because it was a network device. So that, but in Western market, maybe still this small device for showing your best skills by control or by focusing. Maybe it's not easy to get, but that's very important thing. In your home, how many PC you have? Maybe one or two. I don't think it's very easily, but at your home, every single family member, even your child, 10-year-old, they have a mobile. They are potential player/audience. Then as an audience base, which is bigger, mobile is absolutely bigger, multiple times bigger, and they will be all your potential viewers. And without viewers, esports cannot exist as a sustainable ecosystem. Then I think it's obvious. Eventually, mobile esports will dominate even more than now. But it will take a time in certain regions. It will be different by speed. But I believe the future of mobile esports. And Absolutely. It started booming this year.
Yeah, and you touched on something that I think is really important to understand, that I've had a couple of conversations about recently that really drove home the difference in culture and consumption. It definitely played a role in mobile becoming big in Eastern countries first, versus the United States, where gaming is that console, that PC, sit down for an hour or two session length. Pat, I'm curious if you've seen in the audience that consumes your content, that engages with Tribe, the younger generation that's coming up now, where everybody has a smartphone, access to 4G is readily available at a young age. Are we seeing some of those consumption habits start to change with the next generation in the US?
Definitely. I think for us right now, with mobile, there is a bit of maybe a stereotype of the user as far as, it's going to skew younger in the end for depending on the games you play. I mean, you see how many kids are playing Roblox nowadays. It's actually insane. I wish I had the right data on hand, but I've heard something like 75% of kids ages 9 to 12 are playing Roblox, which absolutely blows my mind. From a Tribe perspective, our audience, we actually do a lot of educating for different brands, and our audience tends to be generally along the lines of most other esports organizations as far as the fan base goes. 60% ages 18 to 34, more traditional male to female splits. But I think what's been an interesting question for us over the last year really is, we've had a lot of positive momentum within the mobile gaming space as far as seeing these esports league built, within the United States and Europe, seeing on the content front, as I've mentioned, being able to pull in 100 million monthly views on YouTube. I think really what's missing for the West is now that the numbers are there, and as James was mentioning, the people and the scale is definitely there as far as mobile gamers goes. It's how do we break into the cultural zeitgeist and into the mainstream as far as being part of a broader conversation around gaming, to where mobile's being picked up and more part of gaming culture. I think right now when you look at a lot of these different gaming organizations, 100 Thieves, who's been doing this masterfully, when they, whenever, or even other organizations, they have a big spotlight for what they're doing, given that they're in PC and console, and titles like League of Legends and Call of Duty are easily consumed by the mainstream public. I think one of the things for mobile right now is really showcasing all of the amazing things that are already happening right now, the scale of player base, the scale of content. On our YouTube channel, for example, we're averaging, I think, 232,000 views per video on our Tribe Gaming channel, which comparatively to other esports organizations, they might do, 1,000 views, 20,000 for maybe some of these tier one organizations. So trying to be able to break into the mainstream and to see mobile go from where it was a year ago to today is amazing. You see, for example, players in the Call of Duty League tweeting about Call of Duty Mobile and talking about how it's a high fidelity experience and something that people should be trying and playing. You see orgs now starting to sniff out these opportunities and see where it makes sense for them. And even seeing, we had one of our clips go viral the other day of our Call of Duty Mobile team, which just won the North American Championship. They were getting memed on for their communications between players, and it was passed around like actually all of gaming and traditional Call of Duty and, through the Twitterverse. I think these are the conversations that are exciting for us. Even though we got memed in the end, we did end up winning, but like seeing mobile start to break through into the mainstream conversation where you can have a conversation with your friend about League of Legends esports, and at the same time talk about your deck strategy in Clash Royale, or, what loadout you're running inside of PUBG Mobile. When mobile transcends and starts to be part of that conversation more broadly in gaming, especially within the United States, that's when we're going to see explosive growth when it comes to esports and otherwise. And again, leaning on some of these AAA titles and these major IPs porting over to mobile and creating mobile games, given the scale of the opportunity, these are going to continue to increase the conversations, just like PUBG Mobile has, just like Call of Duty Mobile has. And obviously with Wild Rift, we're expecting some amazing results there.
Absolutely. And so we're running up against our time. So I want to come to both of you just to sort of look forward. Hopefully we'll get to talk about mobile again at Esports Rising in 2021. And if we're all back together for this panel again a year from now, what do we think the industry is going to look like? And James, I'll start with you. Obviously, like Pat was talking about just a moment ago, it's about getting more and more into the culture and getting mobile gaming and mobile esports accepted as part of esports, and removing that mobile tag, like you said earlier, so that it's just part of esports and becoming more and more part of the culture, bringing more influencers into the space. And there's been a lot of success that PUBG Mobile has already had in India, in China, and in other places, about becoming a huge part of the culture, not just for esports, but for gaming as a whole. So if we're looking a year from now, what are some of the things that PUBG Mobile, that other developers, that other teams and organizers need to be doing in the next year to bring mobile to that place in the West?
That's personally, we really wanted to make a bigger success, more success in West region. And because you just mentioned the PUBG Mobile is very strong Eastern region. But the interesting thing is we didn't try to just make success in East.
Right.
We did everything to global. But just in East, it was a much easier cultural environment, and it just timing-wise, it's very correct. And also we could make a much big boom in India or some South Asia, some countries, because there, just for them, the PUBG Mobile itself was so popular. Already gaming, esports, if games are not popular, then esports cannot be popular. Esports, right. Game is more like water. So without water, we cannot make a boat moving. So that boat is esports for me. So that game should be popular. Game should have enough traffic. Then esports can go. But actually, we have a much more traffic than most people think in Western region. US, Europe, South America, we have quite much bigger than usual people think as a traffic-wise. But just simply, we couldn't make enough success yet. But next year, please see how we're doing. I cannot reveal our plan yet, but next year, our main focus will be Western region, like CIS, Turkey, North America, Latin America, Brazil. Also, please see very interesting region, Middle East. I think most of people here may not know how much Middle East esports or gaming industry moving.
Yeah.
But I can say currently for PUBG Mobile, Middle East is super important as a revenue and traffic. It's not non-gaming culture there. Already gaming is booming. So there are quite many things are all going around the world, but still Western, I believe it will take a time, but continuously pushing, doing more pro league, more events, more tournament, more investment with the bigger prize pool. If we show the longer vision and then future, then I think eventually fire will be ignited. Why I believe? Because I worked in this game industry in 1999, and there I started working for free to pay, a kind of premium game. And personally worked this, and previously I worked in EA, so I introduced it. There is a game to play, but game is free. In restaurant, EA, our boss, they couldn't get this at all. How game can be free? It should be sold as a package. It took 10 years, but now premium game, free to play, even I don't need to explain. It takes time, but I think direction-wise, it's still correct. So we, Tencent, PUBG Mobile, maybe other projects will continuously make this our ecosystem to be bigger, wider, broader. It'll work.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely about having that long-term vision. I completely agree. And that's esports in a nutshell, is looking to the future, looking to long-term as more and more people get on board. So Pat, to close with just about a minute left, if brands, if people in the audience, if esports teams are looking at mobile, they're seeing PUBG Mobile, they're seeing Wild Rift, they're seeing all of these opportunities explode in popularity over the next year, what is the biggest piece of advice as an expert in mobile gaming that you can offer to brands and to teams looking to understand the mobile space?
Definitely. I think authenticity is key. And this is something that teams deal with across the board when they're choosing new titles and genres and elsewhere to go into. You know, if your brand isn't going to mesh with whatever mobile game you're hopping into, I mean, you need to be cognizant of that. You'll see teams expand from just being a Call of Duty team to all of a sudden, you know, they have a a Mobile Legends Bang Bang team out in Southeast Asia, their fan base is probably not going to jive with that. And it's not going to fit into their broader culture of their organization. It needs to make sense for you depending on the specific game. So if I were a different esports organization looking to make our first investment into mobile, I'd take an assessment of, hey, what current games are we in? And how does that make sense for what our mobile strategy is? A lot of the big games, that these organizations might be in, there could be a mobile counterpart that they're a part of, whether it's if you're a CDL team, you could pick up a Call of Duty mobile team. If you have a PUBG mobile traditional team, you could pick up a PUBG mobile team. You can bridge those barriers, but I think authenticity is definitely key. And for brands, I think especially on the brand side, it's just a realization of the scale. We're constantly educating partners as far as, hey, here's the reach of mobile gaming. Here's the reach of mobile gaming content creation. This is something you need to hop on now as it continues to surface into the mainstream, because not only, are you going to be able to reach, amazing KPIs, metrics, and otherwise, and have a brand new audience who's digging into your product, but there's really an opportunity to innovate and be the leaders within the mobile gaming ecosystem for a lot of these different brands. So those are my two things. Super excited about more IPs coming out this year, whether it's Apex Legends hitting mobile, Fall Guys, Wild Rift, even a crazy Pokemon MOBA that I've heard has been rumored coming out, which should be a blast. So, and of course, 5G is the game changer we didn't even get a chance to touch on. So 2021 is going to be absolutely amazing.
Definitely. Well, hopefully we'll all be back to tell you all about how mobile has continued to explode next year. James, Pat, thank you so much for taking the time today. And to everyone in the audience, we look forward to you enjoying more of Esports Rising to come.
Absolutely. Thanks a ton.